Ah, I forgot to hit the button. I'm sorry. Oh, this YouTube thing is baffling sometimes. Sorry, I'm moving my stool out of the way so I can move my foot in the way. All right, we are going to be going live with the KloosterFrick hearing again. I'm so glad y'all are sticking this out with me. It's been an exciting ride. Let's just put it that way. It's been a lot of fun, and we've had some funny moments, and we are going to continue to have some funny moments. It gets wild. It definitely gets wild. So I want to thank everybody for supporting me through this. I don't know if I could get through this without you guys. And fair warning, the following clips that I have are not as heavily edited as far as like pulling out the time gaps and things like that, because these are the clips that I spent 2 days editing and exporting and re-editing and exporting, and having memory issues because my computer couldn't support it. And then I went to just log in now, and StreamYard gave me a message that I have reached my limitation for the number of free hours that I could stream. So I had my choice of either having to purchase StreamYard's membership or wait till November 12th before I could bring you guys anything more. So I'm here. So we all know what choice I made. So yeah, if you guys want to support the channel and support the subscriptions that I need for the editing tools and streaming and everything else, I do have my Cash App in the description. That's the quickest and easiest way. There is also the PayPal tip jar option, which is on my About page. But yep, I'm here, no matter what. But if anybody does want to support the growth of the channel, that would really help. So I am going to get this started. You guys are amazing, and I love you. And we're going to roll with 7 of 9. That was one of my favorite characters on Star Trek, by the way. Yes, I'm a huge nerd.
We're back on the record on case number 2317423DM. I believe we fixed the audio issues. Your next witness is Mr. Burgess. Is that correct, Ms. Schmelzer?
Yes, thank you.
I'll let him in. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. Hopefully you can still hear me.
Yes. And my name, as I introduced myself to you as I was signing you in here, is Matt Hagan. I'm the referee in this matter. You've been called as a witness by Ms. Schmelzer and her client. She'll have some questions for you. And then if she chooses to, Ms. Lentz may have some questions for you, okay?
Okay.
All right, if you raise your right hand, please. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Ms. Schmelzer.
Mr. Burgess, my name is Lori Schmelzer. I represent Kevin Kloosterman. And as you might know, we are here today regarding some child matters. And Mr. Kloosterman has asked you to appear and kind of provide, the facts and knowledge and things that to provide the court with some insight. And I do have some questions for you today. And I do thank you for being here and taking the time out of your day. If we could start with, please state your name and spell it for the record.
Joe Burgess, JoeBurgess.
And do you know either or both Jennifer Kloosterman and Kevin Kloosterman?
I do.
How do you know them?
Kevin is my cousin, and Jen is his wife.
Do you also know their minor children, Kelvin, Kelly, Kelsey?
I do.
To your knowledge, are Jennifer and Kevin Kloosterman presently living separately?
That's what I understand.
Just so that we have a good timeline here, I'm going to direct your attention to the time before the separation, when they were living together. Could you tell me about how often did you generally interact with the parties and the children?
Very consistently, depending on the time of year, as much as 3 times a week. And I would say at the least once a week over the course of the last 15 years.
How were you interacting with them? Was it outside in public at sporting events or at their home, or how was that?
It was a combination of all.
And did you have the opportunity there to observe their home life or their routines?
Yes, but that I can't speak to what happened when we weren't there, obviously.
Absolutely. Nobody's asking you that. I'm trying to lay the groundwork of when you made the observations, how often was that, things like that. That's why I'm asking these preliminary questions, so that we know the scope of your knowledge. Okay. So when you were there, when you were in their presence, did you have that opportunity to observe sort of, home life and routines? Okay. When and how did you make those observations?
I guess I don't. When and how? I mean, when we were there,
Right, but sir, we're all strangers. We weren't in the home, so we're relying on you to share that knowledge of when you were in the home. Were you in the home? Were you at sporting events? Those types of things. How were you making observations of this family and their interactions?
Were you there?
Visually and audibly. I'm still confused as to what you mean by how were we making these observations.
Were you at their home? What were you doing?
Usually hanging out casually. I don't know how to expound upon that.
Y'all, I can't. This is amazing. If I had a goat, it would be screaming right now.
Were you having barbecues? Were you having dinner?
Yes.
Were you playing with the kids? Were you voting?
Bonfires, barbecues, dinner, sharing in movies.
And this was anywhere from 1 time a week to 3 times a week?
Yeah, I would say that's fairly accurate. They've been a significant part of our life. We have spent a lot of time together, and that the events ranged vastly.
Can you give some examples of those events then?
Probably not.
Boating, snowmobiling, like I said, barbecuing, bonfires.
Did you ever take vacations with the family?
We did.
Where, when, how often?
We did 2 Florida vacations. We did, I'm gonna say 13 years on Mackinac Island consecutively. Sometimes that was twice a year. So that could be, that amount of time. We could double that And that was because we did typically an adult weekend and a kids weekend.
When the kids were around, was it Mr. and Mrs. Kloosterman together? Was it just one of them?
It was a combination of both. Often activities were separated. For instance, Kevin might take Kelvin golfing and Jen would take the kids shopping. But then there were also a lot of combined events, meals, biking around the island, things like that.
How about the other times, just hanging out at home or, normal week to week family stuff? Was it the parents together? Was it just one parent?
Again, a combination. I think based on the circumstances, parties might divide. Women may congregate and men may congregate. So often we were separated.
Who was taking care of the kids?
I would say both. But in those circumstances, the kids tend to create their own activities and, tend to themselves essentially, but not without observation.
He's so uncomfortable.
Who was checking in on the kids?
I would say both of them.
Did you ever see them do bedtime routines, putting the kids to bed?
No, I honestly did not. That was not in all the time we've been together. That's not something I've been privy to.
What about providing meals or other day-to-day routine care for the kids? Who was doing that, or did you have the opportunity to see that?
So much.
Not
So much.
in its entirety. I would say, based on my experience, it would probably have to be 50-50.
Kiki, I've only been live for 12 minutes and my face hurts from laughing so hard. I'm serious. You're going to want to go back and watch that.
A lot of not homemade meals, but I have witnessed them both providing those meals, but typically through outside sources, third parties.
Meaning like restaurants carry out.
Yes.
And again, I'm just asking you what you've directly observed. I'm not asking you to tell me everything about everything that's ever happened in this family. That's kind of why I initially started asking how often you interacted with the family. So all of these questions that I'm asking are related to when you were there.
Right.
Have you observed Mr. Kloosterman and the kids alone, or one of the kids? I mean, without Mrs. Kloosterman there?
Yes, but primarily recently, and that's since the separation.
Well, what about during the vacations? You testified to Mr. Kloosterman would take one of the kids golfing and
Yes. Okay.
on his own. Did that occur on an occasion?
Yep, it did. On vacation, we went fishing with his son, Calvin, and on Mackinac Island, we would typically golf, and that was separate from Jen.
They didn't prep him at all, did they?
And in those times that you were together with the family, or either with Mr. or Mrs. Kloosterman, did you have the opportunity to observe how each of them parented their children?
Yes.
Did you ever observe the children and Mr. Kloosterman to express love and affection between one another?
Yes.
How did they do that?
I mean, typically hands-on hugging, kind words, encouragement,
Do you ever observe Mr. Kloosterman attending sporting events for the kids?
Absolutely.
Is that often, rarely?
I can't attest to, I mean, because I'm not present at most of those events, but I know verbally.
Then you
I
didn't
can
witness
speak
them.
verbally that he attends whenever possible.
Do you ever attend those events?
I'm sorry?
Do you attend sporting events for the kids?
I have.
And who have you seen there with respect to Mr. or Mrs. Kloosterman?
In those instances, both of them.
Have you ever had an opportunity to observe Mr. Kloosterman discipline the children?
Yes.
How does he discipline the children in your observations?
I mean, verbally.
Does he yell, scream, get aggressive, or?
I've heard him raise his voice. I've never heard him scream at the kids.
Have you ever witnessed any sort of physical aggression or physical behavior from Mr. Kloosterman towards the children?
I have not personally.
Have you ever witnessed physical altercations between the parties, between Mr. and Mrs. Kloosterman?
I have not personally.
Y'all be thankful that there's a mute button for me because that burst out laughter that I just had would have been so loud. Oh my goodness. Like, they didn't try. They didn't even try to get him ready for this. They did not tell him a single thing about being a witness or what witnessing means. I'm just astonished that someone could be this clueless and this bad at being a witness. Oh, this is amazing. This is great. Oh, I'm so glad y'all are here to see this.
Have you, has there ever been any time that a concern was raised in your mind regarding either parent's ability or interactions with the children that made you worried for the children's well-being?
The lack of censorship in times of intensity has concerned me. And I'm speaking specifically about Jen. I've witnessed multiple occasions where she has let her emotions get the best of her, and it's regardless of who is around, that being any third party, but specifically the children.
What moment of intensity? Do you have an example?
The majority of our spring break in 2022.
What was happening?
In my opinion, she spent the bulk of our time trying to pick a fight with Kevin.
What was she doing?
Following him, trying to egg him on into any sort of altercation that would, lead to a resolution that she was seeking.
Have you ever had any concerns about Mr. Kloosterman's ability to take care of the children on a day-to-day basis, or see anything that said, hey, I'm worried about these kids and his care?
No.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Lentz, do you have any questions for this witness?
Thank you.
I have questions. I have a whole list of them. Lots.
Your Honor, yes, just briefly. is it Burgess? Sorry.
Burgess.
Burgess. Mr. Burgess, is there a running joke at your house about a certain chair?
What?
Not that I'm aware of.
So there's no joke about a certain chair being Kevin's chair because all he does is sit on his phone at the chair.
Okay. I guess, I mean, that could be a little bit more specific. Yeah, his spot is the end of our couch. I would not say that he resides there entirely. But
And the joke isn't that he's constantly on his phone there.
I would not agree with that.
Mr. Burgess, did any of the Kloosterman children spend the night at your home on July 20th?
Somebody didn't want his buddy
I
finding out he was
Would
making
not
fun
know
of
that.
him.
I'm sorry.
You wouldn't know if the children stayed the night at your own house?
I could not attest to that date. No.
What about-
the children stay here often? I don't have specific dates, nor was I led to believe that I needed to provide dates.
How frequently would you say the children spend the night at your house since the party separation?
I would say it's probably been 5 or 6 times.
Would it be closer to once or twice a week
It's a
on
thing.
the defendant's parenting time weeks?
PG rated.
I can't accurately answer that.
Do you know why the children would be spending the night at your home during the defendant's parenting time?
Because our children are best friends and they love being together.
On Monday, July 10th, did you pick up a softball glove for Kelsey?
I did. I cannot attest to that date, but yes, I did pick up a softball glove from Jen.
And was that because the defendant was supposed to drop it off but didn't?
It ended up turning out that it was actually in his vehicle. But
Mr. Burgess, I'm sorry, I didn't
sorry.
ask a follow-up. You testified earlier that you can't speak to what happened when you're not there. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you think it's possible that a lot of situations happen in private with the kids and with the parties?
Absolutely.
And you'd have no knowledge of what went on behind closed doors?
It would be impossible for me to know.
No further questions.
That's how that
Ms.
works.
Spencer, do you have any redirect?
Yes. Sir, you mentioned that your children are close friends with the Kloosterman children. How old are your children?
8 and 11.
And how long have they known the Kloosterman children?
Since my oldest birth.
Be more
Um,
specific.
There has been no separation. Their oldest was present, immediately after my firstborn's birth, and that relationship has cultivated ever since.
No one knows how old your kids are.
Prior to the party separation, were there sleepovers between your children and the Kloosterman children at either homes?
Yes.
How often would that occur?
Again,
Just in general.
maybe 5 times a year.
Have those sleepovers increased or decreased or stayed the same approximately since the party separated?
I would have to say increase, but not significantly.
Is there a difference between sleepovers during summer versus school year,
Yes.
traditionally?
Summer, absolutely.
And would you agree that the party separation, really, there was a lot of summer months in there, right?
Yes. I mean, it was
Mom's was
exclusively
better.
summer.
Okay. And at times that the party's children, the Kloosterman children, did spend the night at your house and had a sleepover, was there also a time or times that Mr. Kloosterman was there with them overnight?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Any final questions, Ms. Lentz?
Yes, sir, and just one. Mr. Burgess, you said you have 2 children, 8 and 11. Are they both girls?
They are.
And one of the Kloosterman children is a 15-year-old boy, correct?
Yes.
How is he close friends with an 8 and 11-year-old?
Typically his time here resides around his cousin being here at the same time, who is also the same age. So during the summer months, my brother stays here with his children. And
Please tell me I'm not the only one that just got really uncomfortable. Oh. Yeah.
that is when Calvin is most interested in staying here because his cousin is also here.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Oh,
Thank you very much, sir. You're all set.
Okay.
Your next witness, please.
Is Kevin Brien, I'll have to ask him how to say that, available?
I'm sure I'll have to ask as well, but that person, that name, I believe, is here. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
My name's Matt Hagan. I'm the referee in this matter. You've been called as a witness by Ms. Schmelzer and her client. She's going to have some questions for you. And then if she chooses to, Ms. Lentz may have some questions for you, okay?
All right.
All right, thank you. If you would raise your right hand, please. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Ms. Schmelzer.
I don't think anything
Thank
can
you.
top that last one.
Sir, my name is Lori Schmelzer. I am the attorney for Kevin Kloosterman, who I understand has asked you to appear today and sort of provide us and the court with some information you might know about the Kloosterman children and the parents. And so I have some questions for you, and I do thank you for your time today. Can you please start with stating your name and spelling it for the record?
Yeah, certainly. Kevin Brien. The last name is D as in dog, E, B as in boy, R as in Robert, U, Y, N as in Nancy.
Thank you. And Mr. Brien, what do you do for a living?
I am a social worker. So I own and run adaptive counseling and case management. We do outpatient behavioral health, and we contract with primary cares to do care management out of the physician's offices.
And do you know either or both Jennifer Kloosterman and Kevin Kloosterman?
I know them both.
How do you know them?
So I am Kevin's brother-in-law. I am married to his sister. And so I've known him for about the past 23, 24 years. And I know Jen just from since they've been married, since they started dating.
Unless it's true.
And do you know about how long ago that was that you first met Mrs. Kloosterman?
Over 10 years. I don't know right offhand how long they've been married. It's got to be, let's see, their oldest kid is 15, and so it's got to be longer than that. So over 15 years.
And do you know the minor children, Calvin, Callie, Kelsey?
I do, yes.
To your knowledge, if you know, are Jennifer and Kevin Kloosterman currently living separately?
Yes, I believe they are currently separated.
Do you have any knowledge or know when that may have begun or about when?
It's I don't know specifically, but it's been for several months now that they've been separated.
And just so that we're keeping the timeline straight, I'm just going to direct your attention to the time before their separation. So when they were, living together, how often did you generally interact with the parties, the children, the family?
Yeah, we interacted on a fairly regular basis. I would say we had some level of interaction. So So trying to think, because probably within the past 10 years, we had some level of interaction with them at least monthly. And oftentimes more than that, we would see them at holidays, get-togethers, birthdays, all those kind of things.
Do you have children of your own?
I do. I have 4 children, and they're all pretty in step with Kevin and Jen's kids in terms of age, and so they've all gotten together regularly.
So, are your kids and the Kloosterman kids? Do they interact? Are they friends? Do they?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
And so, the times over the years that you were interacting with the Kloosterman family, what kind of things were you guys doing together?
We would go out. Both our families boat, so we'd go out and do a lot of boating. We've gone to football. More recently, so both our boys play football together. So we've gone to football games, different sporting activities like hanging out on, like hanging out. We didn't hang out on the weekends a ton, unless, outside of holidays and birthdays and things like that.
You ever sort of, hang out at each other's houses, bonfires, sports, things like that?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. During sort of those activities, was Kevin and Jennifer Kloosterman together, or was it just one of the parents with the kids?
No, they were usually together. There were times during the summer that that Jen and my wife would get together with the kids to go to the beach and things like that, because Kevin and I were both working, and so we wouldn't be at all of those, but generally for the interactions that I was involved with, usually Kevin was there as well.
And during those interactions, did you have the opportunity to observe each Jennifer Kloosterman and Kevin Kloosterman and how they interacted with their children?
Yes. Yep.
How would you describe those interactions?
They, I would describe them both as being good parents. They were both kind of interested in the best interests of the kids. Parenting is stressful, so it wasn't always like they had to deal with some of the typical things you have to deal with in parents, as parents, discipline, telling the kids to knock it off, things like that, and I got to see them kind of both doing that.
Was there one parent doing the majority of the parenting, or was that kind of a shared activity, in your opinion or observations?
No, it seemed like a pretty shared activity.
You mentioned that you're aware that the parties have been living separately for a few months now. Have the frequency of your interactions with the family, has that changed since the separation?
We have not seen Jen as much, but we continue to see Kevin and the kids.
What kind of things have you been doing with Kevin and the kids since their separation?
We've gone to football games have been the big one. Like I mentioned, I think I've been to, I don't remember how many. I think they've had 3 or 4 home games, and I've been at 3 of those. Kevin was at all 3 of those that I attended, and so we'd see the kids at those as well.
Anything else that you were doing in the last few months with the family?
Yeah. Kelsey had a birthday party this past summer, and I believe that was since they had separated. And so that was something that Kevin got together. He made arrangements for that, and he was cooking the food, taking the kids out on the boat and things like that. And all the cousins were together for that.
Over the summer, the last few months, when it was just Mr. Kloosterman and the kids, did you see that he was attending to the children's needs, food, clothing, day-to-day care?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Supervision.
Right.
Any concerns raised in your mind at all about any of that?
No, I didn't. I haven't had any concerns. To the point that I let him take my kids, and am not concerned about their level of supervision, whether or not they'll be cared for, whether or not they'll have adequate oversight at all.
Have you ever observed Mr. Kloosterman and the children sort of express love, affection, a bond back and forth?
Yeah. Regularly.
And how do they do that?
Nothing that has so just to what me is like very normal and appropriate ways. Hugs, just words of affirmation from Mr. Kloosterman. He tries to acknowledge when they're doing positive things. I've seen, the other thing that I've seen him do is even when he has had to enforce discipline or kind of get after the kids, right? He pays attention and will circle back around and try and offer some affirmations for them, right? To kind of, anytime you're enforcing consequences, that can be stressful to the relationship, and I've seen him pay attention to that.
The goat is taken. We all know there is only one screaming goat master. I need a cat. I need one like a cat.
He comes back with an affirmation to try and get back on the same page.
And you've observed him having to discipline the children then, is that correct?
Yes.
Anything about the discipline or how he disciplines that caused you concern that the discipline was inappropriate or excessive or aggressive?
No.
Have you ever witnessed Mr. Kloosterman be physically aggressive or use force or violence with the children?
No. I've seen him. I've seen he and him, and he and him, whichever and Calvin wrestle. But that's when I've seen that, it's been sometimes Calvin going after him, and so nothing inappropriate that I've witnessed.
Is that play wrestling, or is that wrestling when Calvin is misbehaving?
Yeah, no, it's play wrestling.
Okay. Is there laughing at the time and right. Smiles?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was more concerned about if the children are misbehaving. Have you ever witnessed any sort of like violence or inappropriate disciplinary methods from Mr. Kloosterman?
No.
Have you ever observed Mrs. Kloosterman discipline the children?
I've seen her reprimand them, and I think that's been the extent of it.
Nothing concerning there, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Did Mr. Klusserman recently reach out to you for some advice about counseling for his children?
Mr. Kloosterman?
Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I think I talked with both of them about whether or not where to go, things like that. In terms of available resources, it's hard to come by counselors for kids.
Right. In your line of work, do you have knowledge of like the resources available for counseling and therapy for children?
Correct.
And is it fair to say that both parents actively engaged you in that conversation?
Yes.
Did Mr. Klusserman, meaning Kevin, did he show an interest and concern and involvement in that?
So this is what has come to be known as the intimate shave trial. And we are on part 4. But it's kind of like episode or what's the word I'm thinking of, people? Come on, help me out here. So there's 9 parts to it, and we are on part 7 of 9. So we've got this one and 2 more to go. Buckle up. It's a whole lot of fun. This guy is not nearly as fun as the last one. Y'all missed the king of what?
Yes, he did. Yep. He was interested in getting the kids help if that was possible, and he showed concern about who they would be meeting with.
In any of your interactions with the family, the children, and Mr. and Mrs. Klusserman, did you ever see any incidents or times where either the children or Mrs. Klusserman appeared fearful of Mr. Klusserman?
No.
I have no further questions.
Any questions for this witness, Ms. Lentz? You're on mute.
Thank you. Just briefly, Your Honor, I apologize, Mr. Brien. I'm going to try not to butcher your name. You kind of hesitated for a second when you were just asked who contacted you about counseling. Is that because it was actually Jennifer that contacted you about getting the kids into counseling?
I was just thinking back. I spoke with both of them. So yeah, Jen had contacted me as well. I think she had, I don't remember at this point who contacted me first.
And would it be fair to say that Jennifer has reached out to you several times over the party's marriage for advice, resources?
Yes, she's, there's been a handful of times where she's asked me some questions, and yeah.
Mr. Brien, you mentioned a birthday party that the defendant planned. Isn't it true that's the only birthday party he's ever planned?
I couldn't speak to that. I don't know his exact involvement in other birthday parties.
Mr. DeBrien, you mentioned 3 football games that you attended. Did you sit on the home side of the field or the visitor side of the field?
We sat on the visitor side.
And is that because Miss Kloosterman was sat on the home side and the family was trying to avoid her?
At the time, there was some uncertainty, and my understanding was Mr. Kloosterman was trying to be very conscientious about not violating a no contact order.
That's smirk.
And Mr. DeBrien, do you think what a person does in public versus what a person does in private, what do you think is more reflective of their true character?
Oh, that's a very philosophical question.
I know we're getting deep this morning.
I would say
Oh.
both are just different reflections of one's character.
It's been getting
I have no
deep.
further questions for you, Mr. Brien.
Thanks.
Any redirect, Ms. Schmelzer?
Just one moment.
The ex-husband.
With respect to the question recently about getting the kids into the counseling, is it your testimony that both parents were involved in reaching out to you for resources or inquiring with you about advice for resources?
Yes, correct.
With respect to the 3 football games that you attended, you did see Mr. Kloosterman there, is that correct?
Yes.
All 3 of them?
Yes, correct.
And that was recently, is that fair to say?
Yes, this season.
This season. Have there been other games that you've attended just really throughout the course of the children ever since their birth that you attended where the children played?
No, the soon-to-be ex-husband. They've been married 17 years, so this has been going on for a while.
Yes, yes. Between the 2 of us, 7 kids, we've been to all kinds of games and things like that.
And did you see Mr. Kloosterman at those events for his children?
Yes, I've seen him at various events throughout the years.
And sort of this very philosophical question was asked of you, what a person does in public versus private, which is their reflective of their true character. Was your answer really hypothetical?
So my answer, right, that it reflects different parts of our character. I think is, is that hypothetical? I think it's philosophical, right? That's part of my job is helping people identify, get more familiar with their self, and to separate, right, our actions from our intentions is part of that process. Who we are is part of what we do and part of what we want to do.
If I could turn your attention specifically to the Kloosterman family, that's who we're talking about here. We're not here to discuss philosophy and hypotheticals. Your testimony today about the family, about Mrs. Kloosterman, Mr. Kloosterman, and the children, is that from your firsthand observations?
Yes, correct.
And do you have any reason to believe that those firsthand observations of what you saw and experienced were false?
No, I do not.
I have no further questions.
Any final questions for this witness, Ms. Lynch?
Just one, Your Honor. Mr. Brien, are you with the parties 24 hours, 7 days a week?
I am with no one that frequently.
No further questions.
Thank you very much, sir. You're all set.
Thank you.
He's the man in the corner of his lawyer's office in the back.
Okay. Are we ready for cross? There's no one else in the waiting room.
Yep. Those were all of my lay witnesses. I still have my own client as a witness. So I do appreciate.
Oh, wait, were you talking who the witness was? The witness that was just on, he's just a family friend, but he's a social worker as his day job. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't catch that. I didn't realize that until just now. But yeah. So yeah. So the little man in the back of the room there, he is also named Kevin. That's Kevin Kloosterman. And he's the one this whole debacle is all about. So
the court and Council Lentz permitting those witnesses to be called out of order, just to kind of let them get on with their day. But yes, those are all my lay witnesses. The only witness I have left is my client.
That's not what I asked. Are we having cross-examination of the plaintiff at this time or not?
I do have cross-examination of the plaintiff. Are we wanting to do that
Let's get
now? I can do that.
All right, Ms. Klosterman, please raise your right hand.
Oh, yeah,
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Ms. Kloosterman, during your testimony, you indicated that it was not true that you kicked Mr. Kloosterman out of the house. And you stated that you did ask him to leave, but never prevented him from coming back. Is that true?
That is true.
And yet, on April 23rd, you sent him a text message that said, quote, "You're not moving home." Is that correct?
Yes.
So you did kick him out of the house and he wasn't free to come back to the home.
I believe it was a discussion back and forth between us.
yesterday.
And we had both agreed that it was not in our children's best interest or our own for him to be moving back at that time.
But you said to him, "You're not moving home." That was your directive, correct?
Yes.
And in June, when he did move back into the home temporarily after the court had denied your request for exclusive use of the home, you told him to come in and out of the garage only, correct?
I honestly don't remember. That's possible. I don't remember if I said he could only come in and out of the garage.
You got mad at him when he came into the home through another door, correct?
Yes, I did.
And that's because you have an app on your phone where you can see who's coming in and out of the garage.
Yes, I do, as most people do.
Who's most people? Because I don't.
All right.
You wanted to monitor when Mr. Kloosterman was coming in and out of his own home. Is that fair to say? That's what you wanted.
No.
So why did you direct him to come in and out of the garage only and get mad at him when he didn't do what you told him to do?
The times that I asked him to come in and out of the garage were usually between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. when I am in charge of the safety of our children. I like to know who is coming in and out of our house during the evening hours. Yes.
What makes you in charge of the safety of your children and not him?
Well, when he's not home, I am default as the person in charge of the safety of our children.
And when you're not home, he's the default who's in charge of the safety of your children. Is that correct?
If he's not there, how can he be in charge of the safety of our children?
So over the course of your 15 years of child rearing, he was never alone with the children. Is that what you're saying? And in charge of their safety?
That's not what I'm saying.
In 15 years of child rearing together, did you always direct him to come in and out of the home in a manner that you could see he was coming in and out of the home?
No, this was just recently, like you said earlier, changing the event of the timeline. This was since our separation and he was back in the home. I thought it was very appropriate for me to know when he comes in and out of the house, when it's between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. when we are all sleeping.
He never monitored when you came in and out of the house.
I was in the house between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m.
For all the hours, the 24 hours, he never monitored when you came and went into the home, correct?
Correct.
But you monitored him.
During the hours of midnight and 6 a.m.
And that's because you didn't really want him there, did you?
That's speculation, ma'am.
It's not speculation. I'm asking you a question. You didn't really want him there, did you?
I didn't care if he was there. I just wanted to know, for the safety of my kids, if and when he came into the house.
So for 15 years of child rearing, you never had a concern about the safety of your children and with respect to him coming in and out of the house, but all of a sudden you did.
Post separation, post divorce filing, absolutely.
Isn't it true that you just wanted to control his movements?
That is not true.
Ma'am, isn't it true that between April 19th and May 15th, April 19th through May 15th of 2023, you sent over 40 requests to Mr. Kloosterman demanding that he give you access to his Verizon account, correct?
That number seems excessive, but yes, that was one of the requests I had made had we were going to try to make our marriage work.
And the purpose of that is you wanted to see text messages that he sent to somebody.
Text messages, phone calls, yes.
And you said if he gave that to you, you would resume your marriage.
That was one of the three things since April 14 that I said I needed in order to continue a marriage with him, if that was what we decided to do.
In fact, you sent him a text message in that time period that said, if you don't give this to me, I'm filing for divorce, correct?
That was our stipulation, that I said I would need three things, and those three things have remained the same since April 14. One of them was access to our phone records that I had no longer had, correct?
And if she's thinking about the possibility of working things out, then yeah, I can understand with him being unfaithful. I can understand that being a request. Like, hey, you want to work this out, then you have to prove that you're not actually cheating. But here's the thing. If your relationship is to a point where you need access to your partner's phone or to your partner's messages, then you no longer have a relationship. Just get out, because the trust is gone and it's pointless. Just don't even go there.
You never had access to his text messages between him and other people, did you?
That is not true.
So when did that change?
Probably November, October of 2021.
So you read his text messages prior to that?
I did not read them, but I had access to our Verizon account.
Your Verizon account doesn't keep content.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this line of questioning as relevance. I'm not sure what access to the Verizon password has to do with any of the child-related matters.
Your Honor, this goes towards motivation and credibility, because her testimony in the last day has been inconsistent with statements that were made during this time period. And the court is charged with determining the credibility of witnesses.
And she's opening a
What
door.
inconsistencies are you talking about?
I'm sorry.
What inconsistencies are you talking about that would relate to this issue?
Yeah, the inconsistencies of her testimony related to all the things that she's been experiencing for 7-8 years, that she just brought up yesterday. Some of them weren't even in her trial brief or in prior pleadings, are not consistent with her statements and ongoing conduct in April and May of 2023. And I'm exploring that issue.
And Your Honor, I would say that it is consistent. Yesterday, my client tried to testify about an inappropriate relationship, and that was shot down. The questioning about the Verizon passwords and wanting to see text messages is consistent with the inappropriate relationship my client previously talked about. And again, I don't think it's relevant to the child related.
However, it's relevant to her credibility and her motivation.
I don't know why this is relevant. I mean, I'm obviously taking notes, but now there's an objection. I don't know why this is relevant. I don't know how it would weigh at all on the court determining any child-related issue. I guess sometimes at the court, you have to sit and wait and see if things develop in terms of whether they're relevant, and I haven't seen it yet, and I haven't heard that from the argument, I guess. So I don't know why we need any more information in this vein.
I'm not entirely clear because I have other text messages I'd like to question her about. Are you preventing me from doing that, or? No. I didn't even, there's zero, no, I didn't say anything that broad. I don't know why we're going into the access to the passwords and the records. You're saying it's credibility. I don't think that applies, and we just disagree, and we're going to move on. But in terms of text, of course you can ask about text. Sure, Your Honor.
So we're all set to move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, in the same time period, April 20th, you repeatedly texted Mr. Kloosterman, I won't keep them from you. They love us both. I want what is best for them. And that is seeing both of us. And that's with respect to your children. That's what you said in April of 2023, correct?
Absolutely.
And then the very next day you said, I don't even have to let the kids go with you. Is that true?
If it's in a text, I said it. I'm sure it was part of a discussion that is taken. You'd have to read before and after how the context of that read.
Michigan.
You stated in quotes, I don't even have to let the kids go with you. Is that a text message you sent to Mr. Kloosterman on April 21st of 2023?
Yeah.
And that's because you believe that you're in control of these children and he has no rights?
That is not true at all.
Well, why would you say that then?
I would like to see the rest of the text around that so that it can be taken in context.
You have access to your text messages. I'm asking why you said, I don't even have to let the kids go with you.
Would you like me to look at the context of the conversation?
I would like you to answer why you felt that you had the right to dictate to Mr. Kloosterman when he could or could not see his own children that were produced of the marriage together.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to asked and answered and argumentative. My client said she can't provide an answer without seeing the context of the rest of the message.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the answer.
She answered it twice now.
No, that's what I said. The answer is we have to deal with the answer. The answer is she has to see the rest of the text.
And ma'am, you later then said, I would never do that. And you're in my heart. You know that. Nothing you have done is bad enough to where we can't work through this. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And that was in reference to you wishing to reconcile the marriage at that point?
At that point, absolutely.
Yeah, there's very often a teetering point where you're thinking, should I get back with them or should I not?
Ma'am, during your testimony yesterday, and I'm going to summarize here, but you alleged that Mr. Kloosterman shouldn't have primary or joint custody of these children because he abuses them physically and mentally and emotionally. Is that fair to characterize your testimony?
Yes.
You think he's a danger to his own children?
I think there's situations, absolutely.
Yet, on April 30th, in discussing an event that you both attended or would attend, you stated to him, you can sit with us, but the kids will be between us right now. You made that statement to him on April 30th of 2023, correct?
I'm sure I did. If it's in the text message you're looking at, absolutely.
But yesterday, your position is he's a danger to your children.
I think what you're asking to, if it was at a public event, I'm not afraid of the safety of my children at a public event or around other people. And if I was sitting in him, I'm sure that was an added public event. Absolutely.
So you're going to put your children in between you and him, this horrible abusive parent that you've testified has been abusing these children for years.
I think my stance has pretty much been the same, that different things happen differently in public and private. And this was a public event. I have never been concerned for my children around Kevin in public. He's a great dad. And there is times in public that he's a great dad. My concern, as I stated yesterday, is when we are alone and behind closed doors. What happens behind closed doors is what I'm concerned about. And that's why I'm asking for the safety, emotionally and physically, more so emotionally as of recently, for my children, our children, who deserve the best life that we can both give them.
But on that same day, April 30th of 2023, you specifically invited Mr. Kloosterman to come to the home in private, didn't you?
April, yeah, probably.
You said if you really loved me, you would want to be here, correct?
Correct. That sounds like something I have said multiple times to him in our marriage.
So you invited him to be with you privately in April of 2023.
I don't think I don't know what you mean privately, like in our home.
Not in public. You just got done saying in public you felt perfectly safe, but not in private.
I think at that point we were still trying to reconcile. Absolutely.
So you felt safe inviting him to your private home?
Yes, I did.
And you responded to him after he came over by saying, "Thank you for coming over tonight. I'm going to bed. I love you."
Yeah, that sounds something very typical, I would say, to my husband of 17 years.
A couple days later, May 2nd, you sent him a text that said, "I'd rather do something the five of us." You were referring to you, Mr. Kloosterman, and your three children.
I'm sure I was.
You wanted to spend time together.
Absolutely, as a family.
And that was an invitation to him.
Yep.
You testified quite a bit that you felt threatened or coerced by Mr. Kloosterman in your relationship, in your private relationship. Is that fair to say that's what you testified to yesterday?
Yes.
And you didn't like that he would ask you for certain things that a husband and a wife might do together?
I think husband and wife do share very intimate things. Absolutely.
And at times in your relationship, you openly shared those things. You were very consensual and participatory and desirous of your relationship with Mr. Kloosterman, right?
No, yes, with my husband, absolutely. The pressure to do other things has definitely played a huge factor in our marriage. And this is why I'm uncomfortable. If we want to wrap this back around to our children, which is why we're here today, I think the pattern of behavior that I have seen in this marriage and the pressure that I have been put under by my husband is why we're here today. I want this to come back to the safety of our children and the safety of my girls.
Oh, I was waiting for a break.
And I'm asking you, it's true that you were a willing participant and consensual throughout your marriage and having a marital relationship, an intimate relationship with your spouse, correct?
With my spouse, absolutely.
And even after you guys were separated on May 9th, you were sending him selfies of yourself, meaning pictures you took of yourself, correct?
I would like to see the selfie. I believe there were no sexual selfies sent after April 14.
I didn't say sexual. I said you were sharing pictures you took of yourself with your husband voluntarily.
Yes, he's my husband. My guess is one of our children were also involved in the picture many times.
On May 9th, you said, "Here is a selfie. Here is the selfie you asked for." That was 100% voluntary on your part, wasn't it?
Well, not voluntarily, but he asked for it. But when he asked for a picture, he was not wanting one of my face.
Did he say, I want a selfie, or did he say he wanted something else?
He said, I want a selfie. This is my husband. I know what he means by that.
You're speculating what he meant. What he actually said was a selfie, and you responded saying, here's a selfie. You voluntarily provided that. That was consensual, correct?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, she did it mockingly.
On May 11th, you offered to shave him. Was that an intimate shave?
I'd like to see the context of May 11th. There's been multiple times that I have given my husband haircuts or shaves, as he calls them, in the past. Absolutely.
So whether it was intimate or not, you were willing and voluntary and consensual in that endeavor. You offered.
I don't think I offered. It's usually, and you could ask him, he's sitting right by you, but I would never voluntarily offer to shave him. It was not my favorite activity. But yes, there were times that I would shave him. He was my husband.
1 second.
One of the goods. Yeah, one of the parts.
You said on May 11th at 12:07 p.m., if you're okay with that, I can shave you.
Yeah, well, I would like to know the context prior to that message.
I'm just asking, you sent that message, didn't you?
Clearly I did. I'm sure it was in response to something.
And then you responded, you're going to make her be naked, and she offered to do your private area?
Oh, yes, I can attest to that. I had told him I wasn't going to shave him. And so he told me he was going to ask Gracie to shave him. And when I shave him, I am required to be naked or very minimally clothed. And so I was saying, is that what you're going to require of Gracie also when she shaves you?
And Your Honor, I'm going to interject again. We're talking a lot about someone getting a haircut or doing other things. I'm not sure the relevance to the children in this regard.
I tried to raise the relevance issue.
You specifically opened this door. I mean, your whole point was that it wasn't consensual, and Ms. Schmeltz was trying to show that it was. So this is your own doing.
Wow.
Understood, Your Honor.
I mean, I don't, unless you want to respond further, Ms. Schmeltzer, that's my ruling on it.
Thank you. Ma'am, there was no in-between text. If you're okay with that, I can shave you. And your very next text was, you going to make her naked, and she offered to do your private area, correct?
Yeah.
Maybe that's who he.
I don't think those are two of the same conversations, but.
Ma'am, would you like to see it? Because they are.
No, but I'm saying when you text people, sometimes there's multiple conversations that you're talking about. But yeah, I offered to shave him. He's my husband.
Okay. And your testimony is that in the past, you felt threatened and coerced to conduct yourself during those shaving sessions in a manner you didn't like, and yet you're separated. It's May 9th, and you're volunteering to do that.
I said that I would after he asked me to. He's still my husband. His behavior has been escalating.
Thank you. You've answered the question.
You're welcome.
On June 29th, you sent a text message that said, I will always encourage a healthy relationship between you and our kids. Last night, you said you wanted 50-50. That means supporting each other. You sent that text, correct?
Yep.
On May 14th, you sent him a text that said, I will never stop loving you. And we have the most amazing kids, and they need us both strong and happy, correct?
Absolutely.
And May 21st, you stated, and this is 2023, my hope is we can do things fairly and even all together for Cherry Festival. So that is the best week for the kids. Is that correct?
Absolutely. What day was that text, just so I can remember?
May 21st of 2023. You agree you sent that text?
Yeah, I did.
I loved it and I love her.
May 24th, you sent him a text, May 24th, 2023, in reference to some photos that you shared sailing on the tall ships on the bay. You stated to him, you could have come too. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And this is, and I'm sorry,
That was
June
a
23rd, 2023, you sent him a text. I would still like to take our family to Glen Arbor for fishing. You mean with Mr. Kloosterman?
Yeah.
So in this whole time period, May, April, even into June of 2023, you're separated. The complaint for divorce has been filed, and you're still wanting to do stuff as a family.
I think it's always in the best interest of the kids to see that Kevin and I can co-parent well, that we can be a unit of 5 in the best capacity that we can. I think it's in the kids' best interest that we get along and can still do activities together. Absolutely.
Yet your testimony yesterday was that he's abusive to you and the children, and you don't feel safe and you feel threatened by him. Wouldn't you agree that all these text messages don't indicate that you're fearful of him in any way?
Both
I am never
things
fearful
can
of
be
him
true.
when we are out and about in public places with other people around. I have said that from the beginning. That's the truth. That's why I feel I've kept our family so busy for years, because it's what happens behind closed doors that nobody knows about.
I'm just reviewing my notes from yesterday. It was a very long testimony, so I may have a moment.
No problem.
Normally, I would cut this dead air space out, but as I explained earlier before the Law Talk with Mike Raid,
Ma'am, yesterday you testified to a single incident in 2018 where you asked Mr. Kloosterman to pack some sandwiches for your children, and he did not. You recall that testimony?
oh no, not the
Yep.
sandwiches.
And the point of that testimony was under the category of which parent has the capacity and disposition, in this particular case, to provide the children with food and the other necessities in life. Were you saying that Mr. Kloosterman starves his children or doesn't provide them food?
No, I would never say that.
Well, why bring it up then?
It was the fact that I had asked him to help me parent and make the kids sandwiches, and that was not the case on that one morning that I had asked him to do that.
That one time in 2018, in the last 15 years.
I think that's one example of many that have happened that I could show proof of, other than just me verbally telling you.
But that's the incident you testified to.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that he didn't provide the children food. He just didn't provide the sandwiches, the type of food you directed him to, right?
I had made the lunch before I walked out that morning and didn't have time to make the sandwiches. So I'd asked him to finish making the lunch and put the sandwiches in there.
But you also testified that he didn't, because the kids didn't want sandwiches specifically. So the issue wasn't the food, it was the type of food you dictated. That was the problem. Isn't that fair to say?
No, not at all.
So he starved his children. He didn't provide them food.
No, there was a lunch already made on the counter for them. He just had to add the main dish to it. He could have added whatever he wanted in there as a main dish.
This lawyer is trying to twist something out of
So you don't deny that Mr. Kloosterman has the capacity to provide the children with food?
No, he has every capacity. The fridge is always stocked with food. It's just whether he chooses to do it or not.
You have no concerns since June, when the temporary order went into place, that your children have come back unfed?
They come back starving and hungry, and Kelvin will very frequently stop home and fill his pockets with food, but it's just a different parenting style. I don't believe that Kevin's going to starve our children. No.
All fairness, Kelvin's a 15-year-old boy that's also an athlete. Wouldn't you say he's just always hungry?
Absolutely. Kevin and I joked about that a couple of days ago. Neither of us can keep him full.
So with respect to the capacity and disposition, that's equal amongst both of you.
Absolutely.
You testified yesterday regarding the property settlement agreement in this matter, and that Mr. Kloosterman is going to be retaining the marital home, correct?
That is correct.
And you're going to be moving out by the end of November, correct?
I'm allowed 30 days when I have a check in my hand, 30 days to get out of the marital residence. Yes.
November 30th is stated in that property agreement, correct?
As the soonest date, yes, that I have to be moved out.
As of today, October 18th, what's the address you will be moving to?
I still have 6 weeks to figure that out at the minimum, and I will have a place.
Have you put in an offer to purchase a house yet?
No, I do not have money right now. I think I probably should have that in my hand. I have options lined up. I've looked at many things in the last few weeks.
Are you pre-approved for a loan to purchase a house as of today?
Yes, I am.
What bank are you pre-approved with?
I have to say that. Yeah. Lake Michigan Credit Union.
So one thing we have to keep in mind is that she's on the stand in a courtroom, so her attorney's not sitting by her in a courtroom. So you're not permitted to sit there and talk to each other.
All right, sorry. Lake Michigan Credit Union.
And have you signed any leases for rentals?
I have not.
So as of today, it's fair to say you don't know where you're moving to.
I think as of today, yes. I don't think that has anything to do with 6 weeks from now, but yes.
Well, we have today. We're here today. I'm asking the question about today. You testified that you believed that the 1 cat and 2 dogs that you will be retaining constitutes, or it's your opinion that it favors you under the best interest factor regarding the family unit in the proposed custodial home. Is that a correct summary of your testimony yesterday?
Yeah.
And those 2 dogs are pets that you purchased and or brought into the home after you filed for divorce, correct?
Yes.
So those 2 dogs were not at all part of the family unit or the consistent family unit in the marriage.
That would be right to say that, yes.
Ma'am, you talked about a CPS investigation that occurred this summer. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Is it your position that you did not cause that CPS investigation to occur, that it wasn't you who caused that?
I did not call CPS, no.
That wasn't my question. Did you cause the CPS investigation?
I guess I don't understand how I could be the cause of something.
Did you tell somebody something that they then reported to CPS based on your words?
Objection, Your Honor. I don't think my client can know if someone else called CPS or not.
Well, if she doesn't know, couldn't she just answer that she doesn't know?
Yes, but I think the question was phrased in a word of asking my client if she knew that if someone else called CPS.
I
She
thought
was
the
in-
question was whether she asked somebody to call CPS. So
Oh, no.
in that circumstance, if she did that, she would know if she did, right? I mean, I don't know. I thought the question was, did she ask someone to call CPS? That's like,
I
That
thought
was-
the question was, did you tell something to someone else to make them call CPS? And I think that's not an appropriate question. Like, my client has no knowledge if she told someone something, if they then went and called CPS.
It's the same logic of with her being a mandatory reporter because she's a teacher, right? So if you make a statement to someone and they find it concerning enough to call CPS on your family, then I don't really see that as you being the cause of CPS being involved. And I think the judge misunderstood what the husband's lawyer was saying, because he took it as something else. But no, I heard it the way that the wife's lawyer heard it, as far as, you know, are you the reason that they called CPS on your family? No. You know what? If she told a friend, my husband is abusive, and the friend called CPS because of that statement, that's still not her being at fault for CPS being involved. He's still at fault for CPS being involved because he's the abusive jerk. So, sorry, just had to get that one off my chest. I am going to go off camera for just a minute. I'm leaving this run, but I've got a puppy that's got to go potty. So, I will be right back.
sure. If that was the question, I agree with that.
Ms. Kloosterman, did you tell somebody at the Women's Resource Center that you had concerns about Mr. Kloosterman sexually grooming your daughters?
Yes,
And shortly after that, where you told somebody that at Women's Resource Center, there was a CPS investigation, wasn't there?
yes,
And you're aware during that CPS investigation, nobody else except you made that allegation.
that I am not sure of. I don't know what other people do.
You know that your children were interviewed by the Children's Advocacy Center in a forensic interview, right? Because you took them.
Yep,
And right after that interview, CPS said to you, send the children to Mr. Kloosterman. There were no disclosures, right?
absolutely. Which
And
I was
yet yesterday, you're claiming this is still happening, even though you know that CPS fully investigated it.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. I don't believe my client. I think that's a mischaracterization of her testimony yesterday. She did not say that CPS investigation is still occurring.
No, she said that she believed Mr. Kloosterman is grooming her daughter sexually. That's what she testified to. And I'm exploring that she knows that CPS investigated it and concluded otherwise.
Well, I thought you were talking about whether she said there was an investigation ongoing, and I don't have any notes to suggest that either. So maybe just rephrase the question.
Ma'am, you know that CPS investigated your allegations that Mr. Kloosterman was sexually grooming your daughters, right? You know that.
yes, there was a CPS investigation, and yes, my children were interviewed.
And there were no disclosures during that interview by any of your children of anything to that degree, correct?
Absolutely. And you know what? That was actually really good as a mom. Why would I want there to be allegations?
And you know that CPS concluded that investigation not substantiating, meaning they found no preponderance that those allegations had truth, correct?
Absolutely.
And you knew that before you testified yesterday, claiming to this court the same thing. You knew somebody already investigated and concluded otherwise. And you perpetuated to this court yesterday that you still believed that to be true, didn't you?
I'm the mom of these children and I want to ensure their safety to what they were disclosed at the CPS report. I'm glad they didn't find anything of more substantial evidence. I want the safety of my kids. What I'm saying to you and to the court is that I want to ensure that the safety of my children continues, whether they're with both of us or with one of us separately. And I think as of right now, I'm that's my goal is since we are getting divorced, I want to ensure the safety of my kids when I'm not around. I've been around them up until April 14, their entire lives, and have been able to ensure their safety.
Mr. Kloosterman's been around them since April of 2023, just the same as you, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
But my question is, ma'am, yesterday you told this court you believed your daughters were being sexually groomed by Mr. Kloosterman. That was your testimony yesterday, correct?
Yes.
And as of yesterday, when those words came out of your mouth, you already knew that CPS investigated and concluded otherwise before those words came out of your mouth yesterday, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, guys.
I have no further questions.
Any redirect, Flint?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Kloosterman, a lot of the text messages that counsel referenced were between April and May of 2023. Is that correct?
Yes.
And at that time, were you still contemplating reconciliation with your husband?
Absolutely.
Ms. Kloosterman, in June of 2023, was there what I would call escalating aggressive behavior from your husband?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
Yes. After he was allowed to move back home, the situation around the two of us intensified. I think we were both realizing what was coming. And although I was hoping, I mean, you don't get married to get divorced. And I think I was still at that point trying to figure out if we could get through this. But also at that point, I knew that there had to be some boundaries and things set in place that as a wife and a mom of these kids that needed to be set in place to ensure their safety and mine. And it is when
because you hope you're wrong and you hope that whatever it is that you saw was a misunderstanding, or that your spouse will go into therapy, or that, and in a situation like what she's in, you're constantly being told that you are wrong about everything that you're seeing, that you're making a bigger deal out of stuff, that the yelling isn't as bad as you think it is, or that it'll toughen them up and they'll be stronger for it, and you're being a helicopter mom, or you're exaggerating the issue. I've been there. I know a lot of the women in the chat have been there. It's hard to explain, but you're constantly hoping that that the person that you fell in love with is not the monster that you're suddenly seeing. And you spend so much time justifying their actions and, trying to rationalize it because you don't want to be that wrong. You don't want to admit that you fell in love with someone who could possibly do that, you know? So, I mean, that's what that boils down to. You know, you're constantly hoping that they'll get better and be the person that you fell in love with.
I talked to Kevin about the things that I wanted going forward. Things got really escalated because he did not want to not abide by them. I'm not his mom, but like the things that he saw as should be happening in our marriage, they were different. I wanted open communication. I wanted access to our credit card statements and our phone records. And I wanted to know the truth of everything. That was like my first thing, is I want to know the truth. And when I would find out things that were not the truth from him, I was realizing that this marriage has not been built on truth. And so knowing that going through, yeah, things were escalating.
And was his escalating behavior in June, was that, or did it give you the finality that you needed to make the decision that reconciliation wasn't possible?
Yes, it did.
Ms. Kloosterman, yesterday we watched a couple of videos of your husband interacting with the children.
Objection, this goes beyond the scope of cross-exam. I didn't ask about any videos.
I would ask for a little leeway because I am getting to a point of...
Yeah, let's see where the question goes first. It may have just been, let's see. I'm not ruling on the objection just yet. Let's see where the question goes, and then you'll have an opportunity, Mr. Schmelzer.
In those videos, Ms. Kloosterman, you're seen trying to, what I call, like, I guess for lack of a better term, like rescue or intervene between the children and your husband. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that the reason that you typically ask to do things as a family so that you can be there and intervene with the defendant?
Yes.
So you, just to be clear, part of the reason you ask to do family activities is so that you can be a buffer.
Yes, I feel like in our marriage, I'm usually the buffer.
Are you putting your safety at a lesser priority than the protection of your children in those scenarios?
Yes.
Ms. Kloosterman, are there any coping mechanisms that you developed during your marriage to deal with the defendant's behavior?
Yes, there's multiple. When he would suggest things, I would usually ignore it for a while. When he would continue to ask or incessantly text me messages about things that I was uncomfortable about, I would first ignore it. Then I would be very careful of what questions, like in a strain of questions, I would only ask a certain answer a certain question or two. And then he'd be like, well, how come you're not answering this other question? Then I would it would entertain the idea. I would find ways to skirt around the sexual questions that would pertain.
And after those coping mechanisms failed, was your ultimate resolution to simply consent to his requests?
Yes.
Do you consider that progress of coping mechanism failure, eventual consent to be a voluntary act?
I think I was doing what I had to survive at that point and get through.
And Ms. Kloosterman, do you believe that you can have an independent belief from what a CPS worker concluded?
Absolutely.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any final questions for this witness, Ms. Schmelzer?
Yes. Ma'am, you just testified to a variety of coping mechanisms that you claim you used during the marriage. And is it fair to say that you're saying that you did that for years?
I mean, I think my coping mechanisms evolved over time. Is the relationship Kevin and I had at the beginning of our marriage the same as it is 17 years, 3 kids later? No. These coping mechanisms are ways that I've figured out how to de-escalate.
But you
Yeah.
engaged what you believe were quote unquote coping mechanisms for years, or what was the time frame?
I mean, my tools have evolved, but like, are you speaking about like me ignoring his text messages? Is that, or? I mean, we've been married for 17 years. There's coping mechanisms as parents, as married couple that we do. This has escalated behavior, so I've had to find mechanisms and coping methods to do that as well.
But ma'am, your testimony yesterday included examples and exhibits dating from 2015 to 2018 to 2019, things that happened 8-9 years ago. You're saying you lived under those conditions.
Absolutely.
Yet in April and May of 2023, and even into June of 2023, you wished and desired to reconcile and stay married to Mr. Kloosterman after all of those things.
Yes. He's the husband.
You see how that doesn't make sense, that you want to be married and reconcile just a few months ago?
Mm-hmm. Is that the end of your question?
Yes.
Oh, don't get married.
Yes. I think
Thank
nobody
you. No further
does.
questions.
Okay.
Well, I have some questions, and to be perfectly fair, I mentioned to the attorneys that I was going to be asking these, so I didn't know, we didn't go over this at all. So, it's something that I am very curious about. On June 15th, 2023, ma'am, the court entered the temporary order, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to say yes or no.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
So, and what's your understanding of what the parenting time arrangement is and the custody arrangements?
My understanding in the temporary order is that it is a week on. Like, if Kevin and I can't agree to something, we fall back on that. So a week on, week off, transfer time at 6 p.m. on Sunday, 3-hour parenting time during the week that falls back on Wednesday if we can't agree on a different day.
And just generally speaking, have the two of you been, I believe there's a show cause issue still pending here, so I'm not getting into that, but generally speaking, are the two of you operating your parenting time according to the order?
Yes, since that went in place, I would say so.
So since June?
Yeah.
Okay. And how's it going?
I mean, I think it's going okay. I think we both miss the kids. I think the kids are, personally, I think the kids are better with me. There's things like I am always the one encouraging them to, call Kevin before, hey, did you talk to your dad today? I'm encouraging that relationship all the time. I think that the kids seek me more frequently for their daily routines, making sure that certain things are met, whether there's money in their lunch accounts or they have their things for the field trip the next day. Like that's what I've been doing their whole lives. That's what they're accustomed to doing. I think if I can be honest, I'm frustrated with the fact that it's evident as their mom that they're under a lot of anxiety and stress when they're with Kevin, that they feel like they can't talk to me or see me, even if we're out in public at a game. I've been told, again, that's hearsay, but they
objection.
She stopped. Yep.
The text messages that I get.
Not the content of the text
Okay.
messages. You can say the children communicated with
The children communicate with me that they want to see me if we're at all.
Objection. She's just trying to get around hearsay.
Understood.
No, I'm not trying.
I know, it's hard.
It's
I'm just trying to be honest. Like, I hate
well,
being.
but you can be honest about your. You can
My
you
feelings?
still should be honest because you're under oath.
Right.
But you don't need to tell me what the kids are saying. I'll go over
Okay.
all of this with them.
I
If
feel
that's
like
helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want there to be this open, I mean, we're here today because of the kids, right? The kids are, I hope, Kevin and I's best interest through all of this anyway. I just want our kids to feel okay and safe coming to both of us when we're with the other parent. The kids share with me things, as I'm sure I don't know if they do with Kevin, they share with me things that they have always shared with me. I understand that this sucks, really. I have always wanted what's best for my kids. And I've always done the day-to-day stuff with my kids, our kids, that I want to continue doing. Is Kevin a great dad in public? Absolutely. Do I have concerns when I'm not the buffer there between the children? Yes. But again, that's in private. And so when I'm not going to be around them in private, that's my concern, is that I can ensure the safety of my kids when I'm not around. He's done the fun parenting things all the time. Yes, that's great, but who does the day-to-day routines of parent permission slips and lunches and homework, and when the kids are fighting and when they're bickering and making them clean their rooms, and like that's what I've been doing the whole time.
Sure, and it's probably obvious, but as you get divorced, there's going to be a new dynamic, right?
Absolutely, the new
So
system.
it would be impossible for things to stay the same if you get divorced. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So since when did school start for the minors?
September 6th.
And how has this custody arrangement affected their attendance at school, their grades at school, any their sports? We're all well aware that you and defendant keep the minors active, but I'm just looking at. I think it's pretty obvious what I'm looking for here. We just didn't have any, for whatever reason, and I don't criticize an attorney's strategy, but for whatever reason, we didn't go over anything really since this order. I don't know why, but this is something that's important to me. Okay, so that's why I'm wondering. If these questions aren't asked of the defendant, if he testifies, I'll be asking him the same question. So I hope you don't feel like I'm just grilling you. It's just, I have to decide this case, and there's information that I think that is vital to a case that was not presented. Okay. So that's why I'm getting at this. Okay. What have you noticed anything, or how does the dynamic work right now with a 50-50 arrangement?
I noticed that, I have access to the kids' daily reports for their homework turned in or not turned in, and whether things are done or not. School's relatively early still on there. It's not like an exam time has come, but I know that in the week that Kelvin was with Kevin this spring, Kelvin failed 2 exams during his time. I know that when they come back to me, there's still homework that has to be done that's due on Monday. I try to have that all done before I send the kids to him on Sunday.
Yeah, I really love, if you haven't been watching from the beginning, I really, really think you should go back, not just, for supporting the channel and increasing the views and everything, but just to see the judge 100%. He has made some calls in this case that, I'd be screaming at the screen. And it was almost like he heard me, He's very down to earth, and he's very thorough. And you can tell that he really, really cares about the children, and about the fact that, this is somebody's life. This is 17 years of marriage that's just poof, gone. And he wants to preserve their dignity as much as possible. He knows there's dirty laundry that's going to be aired. He doesn't want it aired as much as possible. But he has to get to the bottom of things. So yeah, he's a really great judge. I have a lot of respect for him. I really like him. I've done other cases. I've did another case before I streamed live. Back when I was doing the pop-ups and graphic images and stuff, I did one with him. And yeah, I really absolutely love him. So, and if you guys keep seeing me look to the side, I apologize. I'm not ignoring you guys or anything like that. Episode 9 was one of them that failed horribly in the editing and exporting and everything. So, yeah, as I was starting to say earlier during the dead air, these clips are not as heavily edited as I usually do. So there's a lot of the dead air space that I would normally cut out. But clips 6, 7, 8, and 9, my editing program crashed multiple times. So I lost about 6 hours straight worth of work. And then the last 2 days I spent trying to recuperate it, and it didn't work out. So I kind of just threw my hands up and said, forget it. I'm just going to do the basics, cut it down to size and stream it anyways. We're going to get through it. So that's where we're at right now. But anyways, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt everything, but that's where we're at. So I'm almost done clipping the ends off of 9, and then we're gonna watch 8 next, and go from there.
So that they don't have to spend their Sunday night doing it. But most cases, at least in the last few weeks, the kids still have homework on Sunday night when they come back to me. Having the kids call me during the week is great. I've always been a very active participant in their homework situation. If you're talking like school-wise, I still do, parent permission slips. It's frustrating a little bit because when they come back to me on Sunday night, they all three come with a bag of dirty laundry. It's part of the routine is they come in the door and I said, throw your laundry here. And I feel like they're at, and I'm not saying Cheryl doesn't do laundry. I'm sure she does. Dale said that this morning that their laundry's going, but I send everything to them on Sunday night, clean, folded. Originally the girls shove it in their suitcase, but like things are clean and they're orderly. They're ready to go for the week. Everything's in order. And they come back on Sunday night to me and it's all dirty laundry that I've got to figure out what I can get done before, Monday morning. Homework's not done. It's like they've gone away to a week at summer camp. And then I have to pick up the parenting pieces.
Do you know whether they're having any absences or tardies or anything like that?
Not offhand, no. I know that they've they've both been sick. And I know Kevin and I talked when he had Kelvin last week. I sent him a message to make sure that he would call him in, and I believe he did. But usually I'm the one who calls in the kids when they're sick or absent. I think we both get them to school.
I think that's all the questions that I have about the order. I obviously am going to open this back up for the attorneys if you want to ask some questions, but I'll start with Ms. Lentz. Do you have any questions? These questions will be based entirely on my questions, though, like we normally would. So I'm not going to open the whole thing back up. It's only based on my questions.
Understood, Your Honor. Ms. Kloosterman, since you guys started doing the week on, week off order, have you noticed any change in your children's behavior?
Yes, mostly with our son. And granted, he's 15, right? So you have to take it out of in context a little bit of a 15-year-old boy, giving his parents grief, because if we were together, he would be doing the same thing. But the way that he talks to me when he comes back from Kevin is very disrespectful. It always takes a couple of days to remind him of my expectations, or the gentle prodding as a mom, like we don't talk like that, or I need you to be respectful when you talk to me. And I truly believe it's because he's seen how Kevin has talked to me, and when I'm not there to buffer it for a whole week, I have to then do all that buffering for the first couple of days he's back.
And with the girls, any change of behavior with them?
Not really. I mean, I think they're trying to get through this as best as they can too. It's hard to say a little bit because of the different parenting styles. But like burping and all of that kind of stuff, farting, they come back and they think that's hilarious. And it's just a different, I guess when you burp, you say, excuse me, just little things like that I noticed that are not consistent.
Well, I mean, come on, you do got to let them be kids, You can't be prim and proper and perfect all of the time. Sometimes you've got to make a fart joke. I'm with Dad on that one. The one thing that I'm with Dad on, you gotta let kids be kids, and burping and farting are funny. Sorry, they are.
But that's how we parent differently.
Would you say the change in behavior you've noticed from your son is a negative change of behavior?
Yes.
No further questions.
Ms. Schmelzer?
No questions.
I'm sorry, I must
No
have.
questions.
Thank you. All right, thank you. So procedurally again, Ms. Lentz, any further witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
In other words, point of arrest at this time?
Yes.
Okay, all right, let's go off the record briefly.
Okay, guys. Thank you for sticking with me. 8 is going to have to be viewed a little differently. And I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I promise you, I did my best. So what happened was 8 is somehow corrupted about 26 minutes into it. And I really want this clip shown. It's Dad, the entire clip. So we finally get to hear the man speak. And the only way that I can play it's fine in MKV version formatting, but I can't convert it to the MP4, which is the only version that I can stream it with. So I'm going to have to do it as share screen. So I don't know how that's going to turn out. So if it looks different, that's why. But give me just a second to get this brought up. I've not done this yet. So I think what I'm going to have to do, bear with me, please. I know you guys have been amazing and in it for the long haul. And I love you guys. I can't even tell you how much. All right. So it's in this folder. And I gotta pause it right
All right.
All right. I gotta find you again. There you are. Sorry. It's bad enough that I'm, just learning how to do this stuff. And now I have to learn workarounds to doing this stuff when it all fails. Okay, here we go. Share this. The only problem is I cannot see chat. Well, you know what? I'm gonna
Back
do
on the record on
this.
case number 2317423
See if I
PM. Plaintiff rested before we went off the record for lunch, and
let me.
I'll turn it back over to Ms. Schmelzer.
Oh, I figured it all out.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like
love
to call
you.
my client, Kevin KloosterFrick.
Okay, so we're getting there. Bear with me. I'm sorry. Let me see here. There's got to be a way to share the audio as well. So let me see. Audio. Okay. Okay. I'm going to try this again. Yeah, it won't let me share. Because the really bad thing is if I don't figure this out, then you don't get to see the dad. Other than like 20 minutes of it, which I would have to go back through and edit. So let me see if I can figure this. Okay, so, ooh, I think I found it. Share a tab or screen instead. Okay. Okay, we can do this. We can do this. Also share audio.
All right, we are back on the record on case number 2317423DM. Plaintiff rested before we went off the record for lunch, and I'll turn it back over to Ms. Schmelzer.
Can you see it?
To call your next witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call my client, Kevin Kloosterman.
Can you see it?
All right, sir, if you raise your right hand, please.
Okay.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Mr. Kloosterman, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Kevin Kloosterman, KEVIN KLOOSTERMAN.
And you're the defendant and counter plaintiff in this matter, is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you share children with the plaintiff, Mrs. Jennifer Kloosterman?
Yes, I do.
What are their names and ages?
Calvin is 15.
Trying to find you
Allie
guys.
is 13, and Kelsey is 10.
And you and
Shoot.
Mrs. Kloosterman are also married.
I am befuddled. I am absolutely befuddled. Yeah. Golly, there's gotta be. Yeah. So here's the problem. I'm using StreamYard. I have to share my screen with audio, but it won't allow me to do that unless it's a Chrome tab or the entire screen. But if I share the entire screen, it's not showing the media player when I have that on the screen. So keep the audio going and share screen again. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do and it failed. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm really, really trying here. Extra camera. I don't know what that does. It was fine for a second right before I said I figured it out. Okay. Yeah. It doesn't help me at the moment. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Use Chrome for StreamYard. Okay, guys, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be chatting on my phone. I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna share screen. Entire screen, okay. With audio. Okay. It won't let me do entire screen. This is just crazy. All right. I am going to try to link with some better minds. Yeah. I don't know about that anymore, my dear. Oh, you guys are great. You guys are absolutely great. It's not on my phone though. Okay. Oh my God, you guys are amazing. All right. Let me try. Does anybody know? Okay, guys. Give me about 15 minutes and I'll be right back. I promise. One way or another. I have to take me off of full screen. I wasn't trying to be on full screen. Oh, we'll see now. Okay, hold up, y'all. We got someone who's smarter than me in here, so let me try this. Okay. Now how do I take me off of there? I wish I could show you what I'm seeing. Because when I have entire screen selected, the share is not an option. And I'm seeing it on the phone. I'm seeing that it's not working. Yeah, it's not working right now. Okay. Guys, give me 15 minutes. I promise. I will figure this out. All right? I love you. I'll be right back. Don't leave me.